So you want to go to college. Well, you need to figure out if college is worth it and how to choose the right school because this is one of the largest financial decisions you will make, one that may even haunt you for decades to come. That said, many people choose a school based on where their friends are going, rankings, or how well the sports program did, but we'll be looking at it from a personal finance perspective. And today I'll be getting into the factors to consider when making a decision. Also stick around because in next week's video I've got a free Excel model that will help calculate the return you'll get from your school and major. So let's get into it. When we talk about college costs, most people just think tuition, but that's just the beginning. The real costs include tuition, obviously, and most people likely hone in on this number because it's one of the bigger variable components. To that end, private schools can be massively more expensive than public schools. For example, Southern California tuition costs are over $70,000, but UCLA is closer to $15,000. Another factor is rent, and if you're in a city like New York or San Francisco, expect to pay way more for housing than you would in a smaller college town like my hometown of Madison, Wisconsin. Another factor is student loans, so if you're borrowing to cover the costs of school, the amount you can pay can add up quickly, and some people are never able to pay them off. It's also important to understand what rate you'll pay for any loans you take out. The higher the rate, the worse off you are. The next item is food, because the reality is that you're going to need to eat during school. So what you do regarding food can add up. For example, are you planning to eat out a lot? If yes, that's going to cost you. But if you plan on making your own food, then it will be less expensive. The last item I'll cover is transportation. So are you driving, flying home every holiday, paying for parking or public transit? Those items can add up. So in summary, when you're comparing schools, look at the total cost of attendance, not just tuition. So here's the good news. You can drastically lower your costs with a little bit of strategy. The first way to do this is through scholarships and grants, which is free money. Need-based, merit-based, and private scholarships can shave off tens of thousands of dollars off the total cost of attending school. And different schools can offer you different packages, so try to understand what each is offering before you make a decision. Also make sure you fill out the free application for federal student aid, or better known as FAFSA. Even if you think you won't qualify, you may be surprised. Another reduction strategy is doing work study or part-time work, because working 10 to 15 hours a week can cover the cost of groceries or gas, and it won't kill your GPA. I did something similar to this as I was on an athletic scholarship, and it drastically reduced my cost to attend, but I had to give the team 20 hours per week of my attention. Another lesser-known option to reduce your costs is to spend 2 years at a community college, then transfer to a 4-year university. You ultimately get the same degree, but could significantly reduce your costs. Now let's talk about what you're getting for the money. This is where return on investment, or ROI, really matters. Ask yourself, what's your major? Because not all degrees have the same earning potential. A computer science grad and an art history grad could both pay $100,000 for college, but one might start at $80,000 a year and the other at $30,000. To that end, another question to ask is, what's the average salary after graduation? Most colleges post this information by major, and you can use that to forecast your income. Also, some schools have strong programs in specific fields, so don't just go off of the name brand. Another factor to consider is who recruits from that school. If it's Google or Goldman Sachs, great. If it's mostly small businesses, that's fine too, but you should know what you're walking into. Lastly, and this one may be underrated, but what alumni network will you inherit? A strong alumni network can help you land internships, jobs, or even funding if you're an entrepreneur later on. In any case, the moral of the story is the bigger your earning potential, the lower your costs to get there, the better your ROI. So think about that before you make a decision. Where you go to school can shape where you end up living and working. For example, I went to Marquette, and most of those grads either stay in Milwaukee or they move to Chicago. So if you want to work on the coast, going to school on one of those coasts will make that easier to get a job there. Also consider state taxes. California, where I currently live, has some of the highest income tax rates in the US. Washington State, no income tax at all. That difference could be tens of thousands of dollars a year once you start working. And if you pair that with the cost of living, suddenly a $75,000 job in Texas might go further than a $90,000 job in New York. But I'll dive deeper into that topic on a later video. Now here's another thing to consider. You don't have to go to college. In fact, that might be the smarter move for certain people. Some high-income paths that don't require a college degree include trade school, so becoming an electrician, a plumber, or something similar. Coding boot camps, so spending 12 to 24 weeks learning how to be a software engineer and then taking a job at a tech company. or becoming a real estate agent, so taking classes to learn how to facilitate real estate transactions, or more simply, helping people buy and sell houses. Another option is pilot training or learning how to fly planes, or lastly, starting a business, freelancing, or creating content. So moral of the story is, if you're focused on ROI, a $15,000 coding bootcamp that lands you a $90,000 job could outperform a $200,000 degree that gets you a $50,000 job. Said differently, don't follow the traditional route just because it's expected. This is why running the numbers is so helpful. Which brings me to my next point. As mentioned before, I built an Excel model that lets you plug in tuition costs, scholarships, expected salary, loan payments, etc., and it spits out your ROI, which will help you understand whether the school, the major, and the career path actually make financial sense for you. That full breakdown is dropping in next week's video, and I'm making this spreadsheet available by sending me an email, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. Alright, so what's the summary? The summary is, when you're picking a school, make a decision that sets up your financial future. Now, if you got value from this video, hit that like button, drop a comment with what school or career path you're considering, and don't forget to subscribe for that deep dive video and ROI calculator next week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.